All right, good morning. It's Wednesday, and it's going to rain here all day, but still going to be a great day. I'm running. Uh, all week has been like a blur. We're already Wednesday, right? Does your weeks go like that sometimes? Sometimes it feels like I've got a little bit of time just to do some things and just enjoy the absolute of nothing, maybe. And then other times I'm always either writing, creating, teaching, working, right? Just doing all of those things. And so this week's been one of those. Been fun though. I mean, I love everything about what's going on, but sometimes life can get a little busy, can it? And so I hope yours is going well. I'm looking forward to what's going on today. I've had two of my grandgirls in the house all week, and it's been extremely fun just connecting with them. And last night I had a little makeup on my face, a little lip gloss on the lips. This is what happens when you have some girls around. Harper Kate is being tested. She's my special needs granddaughter. She's in the hospital. They're doing an EEG to determine really what kind of seizures that she's been having and if she's been having seizures. And so we've been praying about that all week. Because of that, then her little sister is with us. And because her little sister's in town, then Gracie, my little granddaughter from Aniana, is here hanging out too. So cousins all week. And so it's been great fun. I think we have to give them back maybe Thursday tomorrow. So we'll be trekking over to Georgia to see how that goes and do that. Might find something fun to do while we're there Thursday night, because that's like my Friday night. So we're gonna have a good day, good time. But today is a day we get to just jump into some truth and continue on in this journey. And I hope this is fascinating to me. I was telling the Tamster a minute ago. I said I've never you talk about the end times of Jesus the last week, and you always kind of hit on some of the high points, but to see the plot as it thickens and as it develops and how the intricacies of the thing actually came to be is what we look at today. So in this section, we're not finding great spiritual truth for you and me to walk in and things like that. So it's more of a of an understanding of the evil that existed to get Christ to the cross. And so if you're trying to find some sort of spiritual truths in here for application for day-to-day living, there's plenty, but we're looking at this plot. And so that's where we find ourselves. So yesterday we looked at, and this is all happening in real time, yesterday, he's walked into the temple. Now, the day before, he cleansed the temple. So there's a lot of events that we've been looking at, but really we're one day after he cleansed the temple. So as he walks in the temple today, you can see the carnage of carts turned over and tables turned over and all of those things. I'm assuming it's just kind of strewn everywhere because that's what happened to that day. Then he comes in and he begins to teach. And as he's teaching, the Pharisees are there because they are his enemy. They hate everything about him. They see their power being depleted. They see their authority. They see their prominence. All of those things they see they're losing to him. So they want him gone. They've been wanting him gone for 3 years. They have nipped at his heels, constantly nipping at him, trying to catch him in something. They've tried to kill him on numerous occasions. At the height of this, and what stimulated everything was him raising Lazarus from the dead. The blindness, the sheer hatred of these Pharisees can't really be explained nor overstated. They hate Jesus. They hate everything about him. They don't like being in the same room with him. They don't want to tolerate him. They just know that they have to walk on eggshells because the people are for him. So yesterday, when he's in the temple, Jesus, as he's teaching, tells a story about a vineyard. And this is what leads up to these things. So the story of the vineyard was this. Bottom line, you Pharisees have been given responsibility to oversee the kingdom of God. As it's being built and built up, you are responsible for the overseeing of that. Now, when the prophets came to see how things were doing, you killed them. That's the story of the slave owner, the owner of the vineyard who sends the slaves to collect what's owed them, and they kill them and they beat them and they wound their head. Then he said, so then the vineyard is that he sends the son, and you're going to do the same thing to him. So the indictment that they walked away from that day in the first teachings of Jesus was that your time is up, right? You've been sentenced and you've been tried and you've been found guilty of robbing the God Most High. This was exactly what they heard. It's what the crowd heard. They understood the parable. It's what Jesus said. They understood that Jesus just indicted them and said that you have been sentenced and you have been tried and you have been sentenced and you're out of here. That you've been replaced by the 12. They will build the kingdom because you have done a terrible job and you're wicked and evil people. Now, Jesus make no bones about this, right? He's going to tell them a little later on in this same day, woe to you. And he's going to pronounce 7 woes of judgment on these Pharisees. It's an amazing thing to see what happens. So the dilemma now with the Pharisees is to get the crowd to turn on him and to get the Romans to kill him because the Jews can't actually kill people. So this is the dilemma. This is what they want. They want him gone. This is it. So they leave that little browbeating that was given to them at the hands of Jesus, and they huddle together. And this is an odd bedfellow sort of state. These are the conservatives and the liberals, and the Herodians are even brought in, and those are the ones who have allegiance. They consider themselves Christ followers, but they have allegiance to Rome. They're Herodians, like Herod, right? And so this is who they are. So what we have now is 3 attempts to trap Jesus in this temple on this day with the carnage laying everywhere. They want to trap him for 2 reasons. They want to turn the crowd, right? They have to do that, or because if they just come out and kill him and have it done, the crowd's going to turn on him and they still lose. So what they want to do is turn the crowd, and they want to give him to Rome so that Rome will kill him. So they want Rome to hate him, and they want the crowd to hate him, which is why you have 2 strange bedfellows coming together. The Pharisees, who were the conservative branch of Judaism, who supposedly all they care about is the law. And you have the Herodians, who are Jews who have aligned their allegiance to Rome, and they're all about Roman law. So you have 2 groups with 2 different goals coming together because they have one enemy. Sounds a lot like what happens in so many areas, isn't it? So many areas of your life, and so that's what happens, and that's what's going on. So first up in these 3 scenario deal, which we will look at over the next few days. The first one is the Pharisees are up first. Here's the setup. They're plotted. They went away, and it says, chapter 12, verse 13. Then they sent some of the Pharisees and Herodians to him in order to trap him in a statement. So they send these 2 groups. So the Sanhedrin, that's the whole enchilada. That's the Pharisees, the Sadducees, the scribes, and they're even going to bring in the Herodians on it. So all of these leaders have conspired together against the Messiah. And so the first trap is, let's trap him in this thing where he has to choose between Rome or God. That's what they think is the battle. So Matthew adds to this that they plotted how to trap him. Mark says they sent some of the Pharisees and Herodians in order to trap him in a statement, which is exactly what Matthew says as well. Luke says they sent spies who pretended to be righteous to catch him in some statement to deliver him over to the governor. So that's Luke gives us the bigger picture. They're going to come in and play nice. They're going to pretend to be all righteous and okay, we understand now, so help us out. You are the truth giver. We're not necessarily, so let's figure this thing out for one reason. To trap him so they can send him to Pilate. That's the plot. You hear what we're saying? This is what's going on. Now, they're wolves in sheep's clothing, right? They're stewards of truth, and they're pretending to be that and to be faithful stewards, but we all know they're not. It's a religious face that they have put on here. This is what they're doing in order to get to Jesus. So the Pharisees, the conservative group who are concerned about the law, the Herodians, the more of a liberal, they don't care so much about the law of God. They care about the law of Rome. Their goal is to make Jesus an enemy of Rome. This is the first thing. Now, they're willing to take the lesser and get the crowd to turn on him. If he says, yeah, let's pay taxes to Rome, well, then they can say, see, he's not the Messiah. The Messiah is going to destroy Rome because that's what they believe. Are you tracking what's going on here? This is a plot. This is less like understanding theological truth. It is just seeing the devious plot of Satan and those in whom he uses. So these awkward bedfellows are trying to do this. So here's what they say. They came to him and said, verse 14, Teacher, we know that you are truthful and do not care what anyone thinks, for you are not partial to anyone. How well they know that. They couldn't make him obey. And do not care what anyone thinks. How well do they know that too? For you are not partial to anyone. You teach the way of God in truth. Now, they don't believe that last line, but they're going to use that last line because the crowd is there. This is how evil works. So, teacher, we know you're truthful. That's to gain the respect of the crowd, right? So you don't concede to anyone. They go, we know you don't concede to anyone. We know that you don't show favoritism. We know that you teach the way of God. Now, those things are all true. Isn't it amazing that these people who are not, who care nothing about God Jehovah, but only about their rule keeping, they're seeking to find, they care about him only in the sense that they believe that they merit God's favor by what they do, their rules, keeping their rules. Not the heart of the rules, just the law, just the letter. And so they ask him this question, is it lawful? So here it is, verse 13. Is it permissible to pay a poll tax to Caesar or not? Now, they've set Jesus up, right? I mean, they've said, hey, listen, you don't concede to anyone. You don't show favoritism to anyone. You always speak truth. So here, speak truth. They're wanting a yes or no. They're wanting, because they win either way. If he says, yes, we should pay poll tax, the crowd's going to go, what? You're the Messiah. You're supposed to be dominating, and they're going to turn on him. If he says, no, you don't pay tax to Caesar, then the Herodians, who are there witnessing, will go straight to Pilate, and they will tell him that Jesus is an insurrectionist and he should be murdered. This is their trap, right? So this is the question. Is it lawful to pay a poll tax to Caesar or not? Poll tax in those days, there were several of them. I don't want to get into all the particulars of that, but it was basically a day's wage, which is a denarii. That's a day's wage. It had the figure of Caesar on them. The Jews would use shekels and other things, trying to avoid anything that had the reference of Caesar or anything else, because they considered that idolatry. So the people, for the most part, felt like this tax, if they paid it, was committing idolatry. So this was kind of what was going on. And so they saw this tax as idolatry, and the Jews were overtaxing them. That's why Matthew creates this amazing plot and twist when Christ brings in a tax collector, a turncoat, a traitor from the Jewish perspective, into one of the 12 that will build the kingdom of God. So it says now, Jesus knows their hypocrisy, right? Are we to pay or not to pay? Right? All right, so the poll tax. Are we pay or not pay? It's up or down, up or down. Give us an up or down. They're so excited. You can see this anticipation that we've got him in this trap. But he, knowing their hypocrisy, right? He knows they're a bunch of hypocrites. They don't care about it. This is not their fight. They don't care about this. He knows that. Luke says he understood their trickery. I love the word trickery better than hypocrisy because it sounds kind of like a little kid, trickery. But that's exactly what they're doing. It's just trickery. It's silliness. Now Matthew says that he understood their malice. That's their embittered, deep-seated hatred for him. And Matthew says, he says, why are you testing me, you hypocrites? So they ask that question, and before Jesus even gives them a word, he looks at them and says, why are you testing me, you hypocrites? At that point, I've got to believe all of a sudden this great joy is like, oh crap, here it comes again. They know they're going to lose. They got to know it at this point. Because he says, you're hypocrites, you're testing me. And so he says this, bring me a denarii. So they're searching the crowd. Maybe they had one in their pocket. Maybe they were ready. I don't know. But so they find a denarii. That's what it says. He says, why are you testing me? Bring me a denarii to look at. And they brought one, and he said to them, oh, okay, denarii. Yeah, that's cool. Whose image? Who do you see on here? Well, they say Caesar. Whose inscription and image? There's an inscription on the back. There's an image on the front. And they say, he says, who is that? And they say, well, it's Caesar's, right? So they're ready to pounce. Jesus, if basically they're trying to trap him, and Jesus looks at him and says, well, then you owe it, right? I mean, that's what happens. Verse 16. And they brought him one, and he said, whose image is and inscription is this? And they said, Caesar's. And Jesus said, well, then you pay to Caesar the things that are Caesar's, and to God the things that are God. And they were utterly amazed. So what's going on here? What did he do? Well, he basically said, and rightly so, agreed that government is an institution created by God. They wanted truth. They got more than they wanted, because they didn't even believe that Rome had the authority to do what they did. But they didn't have the power to overthrow them, though there were those in the crowd that did. James and John were some of those. Simon the Zealot was one of those. He had 3 in his group that were like, yeah, we hate Rome. We want to overthrow Rome. The Pharisees all wanted to do the same, just didn't know how. They didn't believe Jesus was the Messiah that would make it happen. But they also, and Jesus knows about this, the Pharisees didn't even honor God. He said that before. You honor me with your lips, but your heart is far from me. Oh, sure, you tithe mint and cumin and all of those things, but you don't do the greater weight of the law. You don't honor God. You don't honor your mom and your dad. You don't keep the commandments. And so he's slamming them. But for you and me, we should understand this. Government, whether we like them or not, is an institution established by God. That's what Paul says in Romans 13. Are not the government an institution, a ministry set up by God to punish the evil and to seek to do good? Now, that's their stated goal. We're told by Paul, he tells Timothy, who was in great persecution in that day, pray for those in authority. And start with kings and all of those in authority in an institutional realm known as the government. Peter, who is in the throes of Nero and the most evil empire of Rome that existed to that point, says, submit yourselves to human institutions and honor the king. Now, to be fair, not to get too much into politics, let's make sure we understand this. We don't have kings. We don't owe allegiance to a person. I don't owe an allegiance to the president, whoever he may be. Our allegiance, as their stated allegiance, is to a constitution, is to a set of rights given to us by God. Now, I'm not trying to lead you one way or the other. I just want you to understand, when you hear this read, don't think that we have to obey and submit to men. We obey and submit to the Constitution that's been set up. But we do honor those. We do pray for our president. I do pray for our president. I pray God boldly use him for good, that he would be exposed to what is evil and he would turn from it and do good. These are the prayers that I pray. These are the prayers that Christ followers pray. I owe him no allegiance. My allegiance governmentally, our government is set up not to man, but to a letter, an idea, and that's what we hold to. I don't want to get political. I just wanted you to be clear on that because this topic comes up a lot of times. Now, He says, and the scriptures go on to say, but when in conflict between man and God, you always choose God. Always. And so that's how I live my life. I believe that God has established a sacredness of life. And so anyone who comes against the sacredness of life, I'm going to come against. I'm not going to obey that. That won't happen. If you tell me that I have to turn from my allegiance to Christ, then I'm not doing that. Right? I'm going to be as submissive to this government as we can, but when they cross that line, I can't go there. And neither should you. So, enough of that. That's Acts chapter 5, where he says that. Now, but the Pharisees weren't giving to God what was God's. That's the indictment. So, let's finish this thing up. Oh, wow, I kept you too long. He says this, and Jesus said to them, pay to Caesar things that are Caesar's, and to God things that are God's. So he's looking at the Herodians and saying, we're paying you. We're paying Caesar. But he looks at the Pharisees and you saying you need to pay to God what you owe him, and you're not doing it. And so they walked away marveled and amazed at what's going on. We'll pick up the story tomorrow. Sorry I kept you too long. Lord bless you guys. Look forward to seeing you in the morning. Be safe.